If you saw God raise someone from the dead today, would you go and take a very sharp knife, stab yourself to death? After all, God can raise you from the dead. If you try to use your gas on Monday and all of a sudden there was an explosion, but some way, somehow, God saved you, you didn't get burnt, you didn't get any scratch, would you go to your kitchen on Tuesday, put on your gas, allow the gas to circulate around the kitchen, then you light up the match for another explosion? After all, God can save you from the explosion. If you're trying to get stuff fixed in your living room, and you use a ladder and then you fell off the ladder, but you didn't break your leg, would you then go and climb up a 7-story building and jump down? After all, the God who saved you from the ladder would also save you from the 7-story building fall. If you mistakenly drank poison and it did not harm you, would you then go and take a bottle of Sniper, then you take 2 doses morning, afternoon, night, you do it for 7 days, right? Just to If your answer to all of those scenarios is an absolute no, then tell me why every time God forgives you for a sin you commit, He then gives you the morale, gives you the impetus to commit more sins. Knowing that God can and will always forgive your sins is not a license to deliberate sinful living. Just like knowing that God can raise the dead is not a license to go and kill yourself in hopes that God will raise you up. It may interest you to know that there are people who are doing very well in living a life above sin. They would always consider eternity before doing anything. They could exercise their will to say no to sin until they began to hear the message of grace, until they began to discover that God can forgive all my sins. They knew that the forgiving nature of God is absolute, and then suddenly their will is weakened. They can no longer say no to sin. After all, if I sin, God will forgive. God forgives because that is His nature. God is gracious in nature, but remember, grace is no license to sin. It is in fact an empowerment to live righteously. So take a few moments right now and ask God to help you to utilize His grace as an empowerment to live righteously and not a leverage to sin.